Hi, my name is Reverend Kimberly Sechrist Ashby. I am a Christian pastor here in and around the Baltimore area, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Praying in Color. This is something that I discovered more than 10 years ago and have used off and on. In those first years, I was able to have a group of folks doing Praying in Color together and found it a wonderfully peaceful time that connected me with God in better ways than I could do on my own. And the group bonded in amazing ways. And that is what we are attempting to do here at Well for the Journey by offering Praying in Color on a regular basis, is to not only help you set aside time to do spiritual practices that are helpful for your souls, but also to create a community in which you can share some of who you are and know that others care and are listening as well. So this is a quick introduction to Praying in Color. To let you know a little bit about what it is, it's also an introduction to Well for the Journey for any of you who may not have found us prior to now. Well for the Journey is a wonderful 501c3 nonprofit spiritual wellness organization located in Lutherville, Maryland, which is just on the north side of Baltimore. Lots of you are finding us from much further away, so welcome to Maryland and to our ministry. The Well has just celebrated its 20th anniversary doing this work, and it does this work across all kinds of spiritual practices and religious organizations. The mission of the Well is to encourage and to support spiritual well-being, connection, and community for all of us, by offering opportunities for engagement and growth. And during the pandemic, the Well has certainly worked hard to provide both in-person and online options so that everyone has something to benefit from at the Well. The Well is meant to nourish, and that is the goal we seek to fulfill. So there are programs, workshops, classes, retreats, pilgrimages, online and in person. And we encourage you to keep in touch with our website, wellforthejourney.org, and the events page on it to see what might be coming up and what you might be able to be part of. In this case, you have found your way to Praying in Color, and I am delighted. I want to tell you a little bit about Praying in Color. It is, at its core, a book by Sybil Macbeth. This is the book. Praying in Color, Drawing a New Path to God. She has also put together a children's edition, which I find very helpful. This is a neat practice to do intergenerationally as well, to spend time with your children and grandchildren, helping them to connect with God, with whatever higher power you connect with. Prayer for me is a regular and sustaining part of my life. It is mystical, it is peaceful, it is challenging, it is meaningful. It is my way to connect with my God and to not only talk, but to listen. It's two-way communication. But the challenges I have with prayer are many. Sometimes and often, I'm not as focused as I want to be. That is a misconception some of us have about our pastors. As a pastor, people think that I'm connected all the time and directly. But I'm just as torn in many directions as anybody else is. And so to be able to set aside that time and really spend it with God is meaningful. But even when I do set aside that time, I lose focus. Lots of thoughts come tearing through my head, and it can make it difficult for me to feel like I've had a meaningful prayer time. Sometimes my prayer life is very sporadic and spontaneous. I've always taught my family whenever we hear sirens to stop and pray. It's a moment to connect with God. It's a moment to pray for people in our community who are obviously in need for one reason or another. And sometimes the rest of my prayer life goes like that. I throw up a prayer for someone as I'm thinking of them through my day. All of that is effective and good. But I long sometimes for the discipline to sit and really pray for the people that I care about, really pray for the situations nearby and across the world that matter to me. Sometimes I fall asleep while I'm praying. I take comfort in that I wake up in God's embrace in the morning or after a short nap, whatever it might be. Sometimes I'm not always sure what to say. Words, for me in a profession where words are so much, words can fail me. My prayer life reflects where I am in my relationship with God. And I imagine it's the same for lots of us that way. So when I discovered praying in color, what I appreciated about it is it helped me set aside the time. It helped me focus during my prayer time. And amazingly enough, the time felt like it had just melted away. I didn't miss anything. I was so connected that everything else fell to the wayside and wasn't important anymore. And that's the kind of prayer time I long for every now and again. I can't do it constantly, but I long for it. It's spirit-filled. So as I share this with groups regularly, I know for some of them it will be an every now and again practice. For some of them it will become regular. Some are able to learn the practice and do it on their own. Some enjoy the gift of connecting with a group of people to do this regularly. Wherever you are on that spectrum, I welcome you. Because the more that I schedule the time for this and do it with groups, the more meaningful it becomes and the more of a gift it is for me. That's my experience. And I know you'll find your own. So praying in color is a process of doing prayer that produces a visual product of prayer that you may choose to keep or you may choose to share. I've done both. What I love is that there are no special skills needed. Lots of people hear me talk about it and think, I'm not an artist, I could never do that. Wrong, because the best I can do is a stick figure that still doesn't even look like a person sometimes. It doesn't matter what your art skills are. It doesn't matter how creative you are. What matters is that you're bringing your time, attention, and focus to your prayer time. This, I've found, enhances and restores creativity. So for those of us who might feel like we've lost it a little bit, it's a good way to bring it back. And there are lots of mediums through which we can do praying in color. I tend to like gel pens. They're bright, they're colorful, they're fun to write with, to draw with. I feel good about them, but everybody has their own medium. I've seen people use colored pencils, watercolor paints, chalk, all kinds of things that speak to them. And of course, markers and crayons as well. Whatever you like to use, that's what you should use. And so all you really need for praying in color is paper and some sort of drawing medium and time to connect. So I want to show you a little bit about praying in color by sharing a PowerPoint with you. And I'll share with you some of my own drawings as well. Okay. So I've talked to you a little bit about the mechanics of praying in color. Praying in color is a way to make your prayer life more meaningful, no matter what. It will help you pray when your focus is not there. It will create a visual product of prayer. That's why I have so many to share with you and to show you. But at times, I have prayed for a whole family, and I have then written off a little note, folded up in the envelope with my visual product of prayer, and sent it to them as a way to express my care. It's a one-in-a-kind gift. Praying in color is a way to engage that creative, artistic, curious side of yourself, which all of us have, but which sometimes lies dormant. You can use words or not use words. You can use prayer formulas or not use prayer formulas. This is such a forgiving and broad way of praying that it's very welcoming to all of us. Ultimately, and one of the things that matters most to me is this is a path towards deeper intimacy with God. My spirit feels full, my soul refreshed when I do praying in color. This is also a way through which we can listen more intentionally to God. So I want to share a little bit with you about the basic method, because a lot of people wonder, well, how do I do this? And is it going to look right? And she said we could share ours at the end. I don't want to share my drawing. And don't worry, there are always people who don't share. Sometimes it's too powerful personally. Sometimes their drawing isn't what really meant as much to them, or they're not as proud of that part as they are of their meditation. When we do our groups, anybody can share or not share. But this is how Sybil starts. She is very focused on praying for people in your life, or for situations, countries, places. So what she will do is draw an amorphous shape. She will then put the name of someone that she cares about and wants to pray for in the middle of it. And then she'll embellish and add dimension. So you can see that from her first shape on the left side of your screen to the second shape in the middle, she's added a third dimension. And then on the right side, you can see how she begins to create extra spots within that she can add color to. See this? And you can do it any way you want. I don't always head this way, but this is a really easy way to start. As she is drawing around Sue's name, she's praying for Sue. She is meditating on the things going on in Sue's life, what she longs for Sue, what she prays for Sue, and how Sue has blessed her. And then when she has finished her prayer for Sue, then she draws a shape next to it and gives another name. So now she's praying for Mary. And you can see how she then takes time to do the same thing with Mary's shape, to create that third dimension, and then add spots for color them in. Now on the right side of your screen here, you can see one of her completed drawings. She has added lots more folks in her time of prayer. It seems like you would have time forever. I rarely finish what I plan or what I think I'm going to do. But she's prayed for several different people here, some of them couples. And then around the outside, she has added words that express what she is praying for those people, so that she can remember that, and especially so that she can voice it, put it in writing, make it real right there. Now, what I love about Sybil's book is it gives a lot of options. You don't have to stay within one format. So here's a way that she loosely keeps her format, but shapes it differently. She draws a line down the page and then puts little balloons or kites, you could say, there that have people's names in them. On St. Patrick's Day, she used clovers. Another time she used a grid to show that it really doesn't have to be anything fancy at all. She uses calendars for special seasons, Advent and Christmas, Lent and Holy Week, all kinds of other times. She has templates if you prefer to work with something that she has already started, which I think is great. I recently used her Advent template, and though I didn't finish because the season got busy, I found the time that I spent to be meaningful and joyful, and really a source of continued thought and connection and prayer throughout the days and weeks that followed. The calendar, we're not actually going to do one today. I have done this exercise before, but you can take a blank calendar page that you print out from your computer and then use that to do a prayer each day. This is set up to be one during Lent. She started on Ash Wednesday, and she did a prayer every day for a different country of the world, a country that perhaps had something going on within it that she wanted to pray for. So these are just a few of the different examples. You can also use your own way to meditate on a poem or a scripture or music. There are all kinds of different things that can be done. The idea is that we have something to use to meditate on, And then you can choose whether you pray for people, families, folks around you, just in the ways that she showed you. Or you can branch out and do some other things that are even beyond that. So I want to show you a few of the things that I have done with my prayer life. One day we did a meditation on a poem, and I get to choose these muses, you might call them, these things that we muse on and meditate on. So I look for something that I feel will be meaningful and special, knowing that everybody will take something different out of it. That day I took the word holy out of it. And so then I took time to meditate and pray on what holy was meaning for me that day. And I wrote and drew in the different letters to show that. Another day I meditated on a piece of scripture, and I wrote that scripture up here on the page. But then that day I decided to do kites for the different characteristics and things that I was praying for. It actually is about finding strength in our times of waiting. And I wrote down the characteristics that I wanted to have in waiting time to give me strength. And then off of each one of those, I did a kite tail. And so I prayed as I colored in the kite tail. That was my prayer time. Didn't get close to finishing that one. Such a meaningful prayer time. For Thanksgiving, I prayed through people in my congregation that I had special prayers for, people around me as well, and made each of them a star and wrote a few things out there for them that I prayed for. Another day we read a Mary Oliver poem about a red bird, and so I did a red bird with some of the things that I had to sing and be thankful for. And recently at Christmas time, we used the song My Grown Up Christmas List, and I wrote out a list of the things that I was praying for our world. And then again, embellished each line as I prayed for the things that I was hoping for. So you can see that as I lead Praying in Color, it is a time to use whatever muse is there, but also to think about what is really on your heart, what you want to connect with God about, both to give the things that are on your heart and to listen to whatever God might have to say. I find it instructive to keep these. As I go back through, I see different points and times in my life and the things that matter to me. Now that I've been doing this over 10 years, it's amazing to see how they have added up. I have a whole folder of them now. And they're a guide for me to see how my spiritual journey has taken shape through those times. Praying in Color is a gift to me. And it's always what I pray for each of you who come into one of our times or more. Some folks come in once, they experience it, they do it on their own from then on out. Other folks come into our group and find that they want to stay. Whichever it is for you, I pray that this practice is a meaningful practice for you that will help to connect you with your own spiritual journey, help you to both speak and to listen, to be heard and to sense what is being given to you, and then to be able to share it with the people in your life who mean a lot to you. That is my hope and prayer, and I look forward to seeing you at our next Praying in Color through Well for the Journey.